Hello, welcome to the dungeon. I'm your host Rob. In today's video I want to do a multi-class build video talking about more Baldur's Gate 3, because why not? It's fun, it's new, it's exciting, so let's go for it. So I figured now that I finally just hit max level today, I'm not done the game yet though, I still have a bunch more stuff to go, but I took 6 levels of Paladin, 6 levels of Sorcerer on my main character, who is who we're going to be talking about in this video, and so far, I have been thrilled with this mix. I went 6 levels of Paladin first. This gave me more hit points at low levels. It gave me heavy armor proficiency instead of only medium armor if I would have started Sorcerer. However, starting Sorcerer would have given me proficiency on Constitution saving throws, which would have been very nice, not gonna lie. that would have been good. However, like I said, I am pretty thrilled with the way things have gone so far. Don't mind the inventory, it's a giant mess, but I gotta sell stuff, what can I say? I've got some pretty decent items. I've got the Balduran's Giant Slayer, which is a legendary item, and of course the Helm of Balduran. I've got the Reaper's Embrace, which you get from one of the villains along the way. These gloves are nothing particularly special, but when you do radiant damage, you get a return of radiating orb. I'm not really 100% sure what it does, but I'm always doing radiant damage. And then this deals 2 damage against targets that are illuminated, which the radiant orb does give them like this orb glow above their head, so I get the extra damage from that. This gives me Misty Step once per short rest. This gives me Misty Step once per short rest. So I've got lots of mobility, and I don't have to use my spell slots for those, which allows me to use my spell slots for other things. As far as the actual build in general, so like I said, I went 6 levels of Paladin. I took Great Weapon Mastery. Oops, here we go. It's currently turned off, but that's alright. I wanted to go Polearm Mastery at one point, but honestly, my bonus action is so full on this character, it is absolutely insane. Between like a bunch of uses of Misty Step, things like Abjure Enemy is a bonus action, give me advantage against the target, right? I've got spells like, where is it? There we go, Divine Favor, bonus action to cast. Wrathful Smite, bonus action to cast, a bunch of these. Then of course I've got Quicken Casting because I'm a Sorcerer. So some of my favorite spells to Quicken Cast, I might as well talk about that right now, some of the best uses in my opinion. I went with the White Dragon Sorcerer, because it gave me the Armor of Agatha spell. So this is one that a lot of times I'll have it going into combat, but if I lose it in the middle of a fight, I like to be able to just quicken cast it, reapply it, and keep going. Unfortunately, my armor class is so high that a lot of times if I take damage, it's just spell damage and stuff. I'm not getting hit necessarily by my opponents, which is actually too bad. I'd actually like to get hit more often with Armor of Agathis and do that, retaliatory damage with it. But, it is what it is. What am I going to do? Complain that I have too much armor class? No. More armor class is always better than less armor class. I also have Haste. I can either quicken cast Haste, which is pretty nice, because then I can get that extra attacks in the first round of combat, or I can twin cast Haste, which is even better. Assuming my party setup looks like something like this, I often drop Will for Gale, the Warlock switch out for the Wizard, because the Wizard just has way better spells in general. But I do like Will quite a bit too, so I'm not trying to knock him, and Eldritch Blast is pretty good. Plus I got an item that raised Will's charisma up to 22, so at this point his Agonizing Blast is doing 6 damage per bolt from his charisma bonuses, so it's starting to get pretty respectable. But yeah, I like to quicken cast Haste on either, or look, if I'm just going to quicken cast it, I put it on myself. If I'm going to twin cast it, I put it on myself, and either Will or Gale usually, so they can get either extra spell casting, or Will can do either, because I went Path to the Blade with him, so he's pretty good in hand-to-hand combat, and he's pretty good as a spellcaster. He's a nice all-rounder, I guess. I sometimes cast on Jaheira instead, my healer, but usually, I don't know, she usually doesn't have as much to do except for just heal or cast crowd controls, right? I could cast it on Asterion, who at this point is a Oh, let's just go to Asterion real quick. 4th level rogue, 5th level ranger, 3rd level fighter. But his bow has an ability called Celestial Haste, which is already haste. So I usually don't cast haste on him. I'll just let him do it with his own bow. That usually ends up being better. By the way, this bow, I've seen a few videos now of people talk about some of the best items or weapons in Baldur's Gate 3. I have not seen anybody even mention this bow. This bow is absolutely godly. Now, this is not a video about the bow, but it might as well be, because we're just going to talk about this thing for a bit. So, as you can see, it says, on hit, possibility to inflict guiding bolt on the target. So, you do the guiding bolt damage, as if you'd hit them with the spell, and you get advantage on your next attack. And there are times where a fight will start, and maybe I'm not able to get him somewhere we can hide, so he's not able to stealth, and because he's almost always the first person in the fight to act, he doesn't have the opportunity to sneak attack somebody because none of my guys are in hand-to-hand combat range, right? So I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. I just guess I don't get the sneak attack. So then I'll just fire my bow, hit with guiding bolt, and suddenly now I have advantage on my next attack. And I'm like, oh, I guess I do get the sneak attack after all. So that's pretty awesome. He's got this ability here where you can do a bunch of extra radiant damage, frighten your target with intimidating arrows, and after attacking ranged weapon attacks made by this bow would deal an additional d4 radiant damage. That lasts 2 turns. This bow is absolutely insane. Just insane. And like I said, I took 2 little fighters so you could get action surge. So, unfortunately it doesn't work with the extra attack you get from Gloomstalker like it does in the tabletop version. But even still, he could open with 3 attacks in the opening round because he gets the extra attack from Gloomstalker. And then action surge for 2 more attacks. And, if I have a bonus action, maybe I can bite somebody, or I use a flourish or something like that, or I just cast Hunter's Mark on people with my bonus action. Or maybe I have a bonus action hide, or dash, or disengage. This guy's ridiculously good right now. And I wasn't very happy with him at the beginning. He was an okay rogue. He could, open doors and pick locks, but, that's what I expect a rogue to do. His damage was kind of lackluster, I thought. But then I'm about to class into Ranger and got extra attack. And then I decided to grab Action Surge. I went Champion on him as well. I think overall Champion is the weakest of the 3 fighter choices we get. But he has some special equipment like this, where if you get a critical hit, you can paralyze a target. That's once per long rest. And, because I'm using Guiding Bolt, that can crit and do double the Guiding Bolt damage. And stuff like this does a bunch of extra damage. I just figured passively doubling his crit chance was actually probably a really good move on him. If I were to make him a more pure fighter, if I started fighter, Champion would not be my pick. But I think in a case like this, where I'm picking it up late and just adding it, it worked out really, really, really well. But anyways, it's not a video about him. It's supposed to be about Paladin. We'll make a separate video about him someday. Who knows? Anyways. So like I said, I wanted to go to my spells, right? So, I originally wanted to take Polearm Expert as well, or Polearm Mastery, but I'm actually glad I didn't. Not because Polearm Mastery isn't great, it is phenomenal. But my bonus action is so busy on this character already, and I've got a couple items that allow me to cast Misty Step once for short rest without using a spell slot. I've got things like Abjure Enemies, so I can give myself advantage against them. I've got spells like Divine Favor and things. I've got so much to do with my bonus action. Plus, I've got Quicken Casting, where I can turn a spell into a bonus action that I don't think I really could have justified using the Polearm. And then I got this thing, so, am I really going to use a Polearm after using this? Of course not. Excuse me. So, overall, I think that was a good move. Anyways, those are my Paladin spells. I do have a bunch of concentration spells. My concentration saves aren't the best. I do have the +3 bonus, though, from my Paladin aura. But even as, even with that, like I said, my saving throws aren't really ideal. My con saves are, +7 thanks to the Cloak of Protection and 1 from Baldur's Favor. So, it's not like they're terrible. But, you know, something like Warcaster would have been nice if I could have gotten it. Resilient Con or something, if I would have been able to give myself like a 15 and then round that up to a 16 or something with Resilient Con. That would have been nice, but I only had 2 ability score increases. And I decided to use the second. I used the first one, Great Weapon Mastery, and I decided to use the second one on my Strength. Because, you know, I was kind of tired of missing so much when I was using Great Weapon Mastery. Anyways, I just wanted to make a quick video talk about the Paladin Sorcerer. I think it's been phenomenal. I have only second level Paladin spells, I should point out, because as a Paladin you don't get third level spells until level 9, and I only have third level Sorcerer spells. I would get fourth level at 7, but the game caps at 12, so I will never have fourth level spells. But because my Paladin and Sorcerer spell slots stack, I do have 4th and 5th level spell slots. So I don't have any spells that are of 4th and 5th level, but I can upcast things like Armor of Agathis. I can use them for smites, for example. You know, I've got some options like that, which I like quite a bit. Anyways, I just want to make a quick video talk about this character. Overall, I think it's been excellent. I do wish I had more sorcery points. As a sorcerer, you do have the ability to convert spell slots into sorcery points, or vice versa. And since my quicken casting takes 3 sorcery points, and this uses 1 sorcery point per spell level of the spell slot cast, basically I'm looking at like 3 for either one, right? Because if I'm going to twin cast something, it's probably going to be haste or something along those lines, right? You know, because I mean, Bless already affects multiple targets. I could just upcast it if I needed to hit the whole party. Things like Fear don't benefit from upcasting. You know, most of this stuff doesn't, right? Armor of Agathis does, but I can cast that before combat. You know, etc., etc. So basically, I'm looking at quickening 2 spells, twinning 2 spells, or 1 of each, and that pretty much is going to just run me dry. But still not too bad. You know, I've had fights where I'm able to twin haste on myself and, let's say, Gale or Will. And then also, you know, I'll have Armor of Agathis going in, but then it'll run out because people hit me and I take damage. And I'll just, like, quicken cast it on myself. And that'll be it for my sorcery points. But, you know, between twinned haste and a quickened Armor of Agathis, even if it's only with, like, say, a 4th level spell slot, it's not right now because I probably cast it originally with a 5th, right? You know, that's a lot of temporary hit points I'm getting from that. Assuming I'm getting hit in combat, then that's a lot of reflected damage as well. Unfortunately, my armor class is, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately. That gives the wrong impression. But yeah, my armor class is really high, so a lot of times my Armor of Agathis hit points are getting eaten up by like spell damage or AoE damage, which isn't really ideal. I'd prefer I was just getting smashed in the face, and then people were taking that reflective damage from the armor. But, you know, it's one of the rare cases where having a high armor class kind of sucks. But don't worry, because Will gets to do that all the time, and his armor class is garbage. So, you know, I still get the satisfaction of watching that happen. He does have this awesome hat, though, which gives him +2 charisma up to 22. So I'm sitting there with 22 charisma. And he's got these quick spell gloves that are like, cantrips that cost an action, cost a bonus action. Instead, this effect can be used once for short rest. So usually I just use it on Eldritch Blast, of course. But that can be, you know, an extra Eldritch Blast every round, and I didn't even go Sorcerer. I just went straight 12 levels Warlock on him. If I really, really wanted to make Will, like, even better, then, you know, grabbing a bunch of Sorcerer levels for some quick and cast Eldritch Blast would have been great. Like I said, I can always respec him if I want later. I think 2 levels of Fighter for Action Surge would be a good idea on him, and just turn him into a, you know, Eldritch Blast casting machine gun, essentially. Just cast it, quicken cast it, Action Surge, cast it again, and then the next round you know, you just keep doing that to out of sorcery points or whatever, or you use the gloves the first time, and then come back with the later. Yeah. You've got a lot of good options there. He does not need that much space for this, so let's just go like this. Next row. Anyways, that's everything I wanted to talk about in this video. So far, I've been super thrilled with the Paladin. I'm not done the game yet. I am getting kind of close. I've got a couple, just tough fights. I just tried fighting that Enver Gortash guy, the one guy who has one of the gems, like one of the big bosses, and I got absolutely destroyed. There were a ton of AoE attacks, and I thought I was off to a great start because my rogue managed to kill like 2 guys in the first round. He got some big crits. Hunter's Mark was putting in some work as well. Got a guiding bolt crit in there, so that did just huge damage. I was like, oh man, this guy, I dropped 2 guys just with my ranger. This fight couldn't be going better. And then it all went terribly wrong, and by round 3, the only person left standing was the Sorcerer Paladin, which of course just proves that my Paladin Sorcerer is phenomenal, because she was the only one still on her feet at that point. Or it just proves that everybody else was trash, but no, that's not actually true. I'm pretty happy with my party. I've got some pretty good gear on them. I've only gone with stuff I found too. I'm a big fan of like not using spoilers my first time through any game, and yeah, that means that this character could have been better if I would have found more good stuff. But it is what it is. And then the second time through, then I'll use guides and spoilers and everything else, because at that point I've already finished the game once. I don't feel as bad about it. But I like my first playthrough to be kind of pure in that sense. I'm not a big scum saver either. I'm not saying I've never done it or anything like that. I don't want to give that impression. I've had fights where half the party dies, and I was like, we can do better than that. Reload, try again, So that nobody's perfect. And by the way, I'm not shaming anybody else who does do that kind of stuff. I understand, Anyways, that's everything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.